Your memories are not just mental snapshots. They are not stored away in a dusty mental archive, disconnected and harmless. They're alive, they're encoded, and they're influencing every decision you make, whether you realize it or not. This isn't just a theory. It's not spiritual fluff or pseudo-philosophy. This is the hard truth. Your present moment, the people in it, the patterns you repeat, the beliefs you hold, the resistance you feel, has been designed by invisible threads of your emotional history, embedded deeply within a vast energetic matrix that responds not just to your thoughts, but to your unresolved frequency signatures. We call this framework the quantum grid. It's not a place. It's not linear. It is the ever-present field in which all timelines, all emotions, and all potential realities coexist. And inside this grid, certain memory anchors act like coordinates. Not just recollections, but living, resonating data points. These memory anchors are encoded with emotional charge, and until they are consciously resolved, they act as silent programming, looping your reality, recycling your circumstances, and limiting your future to echoes of your past. Have you ever tried to make a major shift in life, only to end up right back where you started? Have you noticed certain types of people or experiences showing up again and again, despite your best efforts to move on? Do you feel like something unseen is pulling you backward, locking you into a story you didn't mean to keep telling? That's not just habit. That's not just conditioning. That's architecture, and it lives in the quantum field. In this exploration, you're going to learn exactly how that architecture was built, why your emotional responses in the past became energetic loops, and how those loops are still shaping your relationships, your self-image, your abundance, your identity. You'll understand why traditional self-help approaches only scratch the surface, why cognitive reframing, while helpful, doesn't reach the root. Because the real root lives outside the mind. It exists within your resonance, your energetic presence, your interaction with time. We'll break down how memory anchors are formed. We'll map out how they function inside the quantum grid. And we'll walk through how to spot them in your life, because once you recognize the pattern, you can shift it. You'll gain access to advanced practices that help dissolve encoded thought forms, release timeline locks, and redirect the flow of consciousness into potentials that weren't available to you before. This is about becoming sovereign over your inner timeline. This is about decoding the quantum imprints you've unknowingly carried and replacing them with intentional frequency codes that realign your external world. You'll start to see that you don't just remember the past, you often live inside it. And if your past remains the designer of your present, then your future has no new script to follow. Let's change that. First, let's expose the hidden layers. Those subtle but powerful repetitions that hint at the deeper influence of memory holograms running on loop beneath your awareness. Let's begin. There's something you need to understand about the way reality is experienced. It isn't made up of objects. It isn't even made up of events. It's made up of resonances, and every resonance is an echo of something that has already occurred. The quantum grid that holds your consciousness is not passive. It's interactive. It's reflecting back to you not just the sum of your intentions, but the unprocessed frequencies you've left unresolved. That means your present is not new. Your present is often a highly complex overlay of energetic recordings from your past. Here's how it happens. Each time you experience something emotionally charged, especially trauma, fear, betrayal, deep joy, intense longing, you send out a vibrational pulse. That pulse doesn't just vanish when the moment ends. It becomes a standing wave. It holds the imprint of that moment in time and space, encoded with your response. And that wave loops. Unless it's consciously neutralized, it doesn't just fade into the background. It becomes a memory hologram, an energetic replica of the originating event that begins to search for continuity in your current timeline. This is why some people keep dating different versions of the same person, over and over again. Why others attract betrayals, rejections, disappointments, or even certain types of physical illness that always return, regardless of the action taken on the surface. Because the surface isn't the source. The echo is, and the echo is still active. To understand how these holograms form, picture a three-dimensional web of your most emotionally significant experiences. Each thread in that web holds a vibration. That vibration becomes an instruction. It tells the field, match this, and the field does. It matches with people, with settings, with events that recreate the original frequency signature. Not because you asked for it, but because you haven't cleared it. What's more, your brain reinforces this hologram through expectation. Once an emotional event occurs, your subconscious stores the pattern not just as a memory, but as a probability. It builds predictive models around it. So if you've been abandoned once, your subconscious begins scanning for the potential of abandonment again. And the field obliges, not because it's punishing you, but because you are unknowingly broadcasting unresolved resonance. But it goes even deeper. These holograms don't just repeat, they evolve. They grow more subtle, more refined. As your conscious mind matures, the field compensates by creating more intelligent variations of the same pattern. So the situation may look different, but the emotional result is the same. The betrayal may come in the form of a colleague now instead of a partner. The rejection may show up as self-sabotage, rather than overt abandonment. The external mask changes, but the internal instruction hasn't. To begin shifting this, you must learn to trace the emotional familiarity in your experience. You must ask, not why is this happening to me, but what frequency does this match from my past? You must feel the echo and track it to its source. Start by identifying emotional patterns that have repeated at least 3 times in your life. Do not analyze the storyline. Focus only on the emotional outcome. That's where the hologram lives. Then, ask yourself, was there an early moment, especially one emotionally intense, when I first felt this? Even if the memory is vague or partial, the feeling is the fingerprint. That's the resonance the grid has been responding to. Now, don't try to get rid of it. Not yet. The first step is simply awareness. Because once the echo is witnessed, it begins to lose coherence. It starts to unbind from the present moment. The grip weakens, and your field becomes just slightly more fluid. It's easy to think the past is behind you, but in truth, most people are surrounded by their own energetic memories, repeated through holograms that look new, but are only cleverly disguised loops. Your job is to catch the pattern, to question emotional familiarity, to stop letting echoes write the present. Next, we will uncover the deeper mechanics behind why these holograms stay locked in place. Why, even when you're aware of the pattern, you can't seem to break it. You'll learn about the actual energetic mechanics of how timeline locks form, how they reinforce themselves, and how thought forms act as persistent software running your reality. Get ready to expose the invisible system you've been living in all along, and start reclaiming control over it. Let's continue. There's a moment when realization hits, when the repetition of circumstances becomes too exact to be a coincidence. The same emotional script plays out across different phases of your life, and the same reactions are triggered in you, almost like someone else is calling the shots behind the scenes. This isn't just déjà vu. This is the signature of a timeline lock. A timeline lock is an energetic condition in which unprocessed emotional charges from the past fuse with thought forms, effectively freezing portions of your consciousness in specific moments of time. These frozen segments of consciousness then act as attractors, magnetically pulling you back into versions of reality that serve to reinforce the original experience. You may have experienced this as an inability to move on, even when every logical reason says you should have. You may feel as though you've intellectually understood a past experience, forgiven all parties involved, and yet something keeps surfacing, a reaction, a thought, a pattern of fear. It's not mental memory causing that. It's not lack of insight. It's a lock, a multidimensional stasis. Here's what creates it. When an emotionally significant event occurs, and you respond in a way that suppresses, avoids, or abandons the emotional energy tied to it, that emotional imprint doesn't disappear, crystallizes. But more than that, it becomes intelligent. It fuses with your thoughts, your interpretations, your beliefs formed in that moment. That fusion becomes a thought form with an emotional signature. This is not just a belief. It is a vibrational construct that operates as a mini program within your field. It scans new experiences for resonance matches. When it finds one, it activates. And when it activates, it triggers the same reaction pattern you had in the original moment, no matter how much time has passed. This is how timeline locks perpetuate. They are not just reactivations of memory. They are insertions of the past into the present moment through vibrational resonance. And because time is not linear in the quantum field, your present becomes partially overlaid with that original moment, turning your now into a mixed reality. Here's an example of how this works. Let's say you were abandoned or emotionally dismissed as a child during a critical moment when you needed connection. You didn't have the tools to process that pain or confusion, so you stored it. But you didn't just store the feeling. You formed a belief. My needs are too much. That belief fused with the emotional state and became an anchored thought form. Now, in adulthood, you enter a relationship. Things are going well. Then you ask for something: support, affection, time, and it's not received in the way you hoped. The field doesn't interpret this as a neutral event. The anchored thought form activates. The vibration of abandonment from the past overlays the present. You suddenly feel rejected, even if your partner didn't actually reject you. Your emotional response becomes amplified. Your reality becomes distorted. This is the lock. It pulls a portion of your awareness back into the past and superimposes it on the present, creating emotional timelines that feel real because they are partially real, energetically speaking. You're now reacting not to what's happening, but to the vibrational memory of what once happened. And by reacting from that space, you reinstruct the field to reinforce that version of you. The loop strengthens. Many timeline locks operate beneath the threshold of your conscious awareness. They show up as irrational fear, recurring sabotage, chronic indecision, or consistent relational collapse. They do not respond to logic. They do not dissolve through willpower, because they're not mental, they're energetic. To shift them, you must become energetically present with them. You must learn to trace the thought forms not by their words, but by their emotional charge. These energetic programs often contain phrases like, "I always mess things up. No one really listens to me. If I open up, I'll be rejected. Good things don't last." These aren't harmless thoughts. They're frequency codes. They're the passwords to timeline loops. And they must be changed not just by affirming something different, but by resolving the emotional energy that powers them. So how do you begin to unlock these loops? Step 1. Observation without resistance. When a familiar emotional response arises, stop everything. Do not react outwardly. Instead, observe inwardly. Ask yourself, where in my past have I felt this exact emotional texture? Trace it. Find the earliest version of that feeling that you can access. Don't analyze it, just feel it. Step 2. Detach the narrative. The story is irrelevant. What matters is the vibrational fingerprint. Allow yourself to feel it without attaching it to the current circumstance. By doing so, you stop feeding the loop. Step 3. Interrupt the confirmation pattern. Timeline locks stay in place because they're constantly being confirmed. This happens when you interpret new situations through the filter of past wounding. To break the confirmation, you must reframe, not intellectually but energetically. Instead of reacting from the thought form, ask, what response would I choose if I didn't have this memory influencing me? Act from that place. Anchor into that choice. This recodes the field. Timeline locks are stubborn only because they've been left unchecked. They don't need to be fought. They need to be seen. Seen without distortion. Seen without resistance. Once you've identified the lock, you can choose to shift it at its root. Not by thinking differently, but by feeling fully, then choosing differently. Next, we will look into the architecture of memory itself. Not as a psychological function, but as an energetic code, one that operates multidimensionally and interacts directly with your external world. You'll start seeing your past not as a story, but as a script embedded in the quantum grid. Let's continue. Memory is not a static archive. It is not a dusty record stored in the attic of your brain, waiting to be recalled. It is a live, dynamic interface, a constantly updating set of frequency codes encoded into your energetic field. And it speaks a language most people don't even know they're fluent in. Here's the truth. Your memories are not passive reflections. They are living programs. They instruct the quantum field by emitting specific vibrations that act as scripts, telling reality how to respond to you. Let's break this down. Every experience you've ever had is composed of three core elements: the sensory input, the emotional response, and the meaning you assign to it. That meaning, fused with emotional charge, becomes memory. But more than that, it becomes a code, a directive. And that directive doesn't just exist inside your neural pathways. It gets imprinted in your auric field. It gets embedded in your resonance. Now the field has a blueprint, and the field obeys blueprints. This is why certain people experience similar life patterns again and again, because the code hasn't changed, because the vibration being broadcast is still carrying the same script, word for word, feeling for feeling. You might be wondering, if this is true, how is it possible to break free from a lifetime of these encoded patterns? It starts by learning to read the code, to see memory not as narrative, but as frequency, not as content, but as instruction. Every time you recall a painful memory and feel the charge behind it, you are momentarily reactivating that code. You're instructing the grid to respond accordingly. This is not about blame, it's about energetic cause and effect. There's something else you need to understand. Memory doesn't exist solely in your head. It exists across multiple levels of your being. Your emotional body, your cellular structure, your energetic field all hold aspects of memory. And each layer communicates with the quantum grid, not through language, but through vibration. So the question becomes, what are you still broadcasting? What code are you still running? What memory scripts are shaping your interactions, decisions, and perceptions without your conscious awareness? To decode this, begin with your present discomforts. Track any emotion that feels disproportionate to the moment. If something feels too big, too heavy, too familiar, it's not from now. It's from the embedded code of then. You're not reacting to the moment. You're reacting to the script behind it. Next, study your language. The words you speak about your life contain embedded codes. Every time you say, "I always attract this," or "that never works out," you're reinforcing the energetic script. The grid isn't punishing you. It's responding to the program you're running. Now take it deeper. Feel into the tone of your memories. Some carry sadness. Others carry rage, betrayal, fear, or shame. Each emotional tone is a code. Each one has a corresponding vibrational frequency. Those frequencies don't stay in your mind. They orbit your field. They become attractors. And the grid listens. But here's where your power lies. You can rewrite the code, not by forgetting, not by suppressing, but by changing the energetic frequency that memory holds. It starts with presence, then neutrality, then intention. When you bring loving awareness to a memory without re-identifying with the emotion, you begin to neutralize its charge. You become the observer, not the participant. That act alone begins to edit the script. From there, you choose a new directive. You assign a new meaning. You anchor a new vibration. This is not pretending something didn't happen. This is transforming what it means in your field. Because meaning is malleable. And in the quantum field, meaning is everything. Your ability to shape reality depends entirely on the frequency you are holding and the instructions you are broadcasting. And your memories are either expanding that potential or locking it in place. You've now seen how memory acts as a multidimensional code. How your past isn't passive, it's interactive. And how the key to shifting your reality lies in shifting the scripts you've been running. Next, we will explore the reflection mechanism itself. How the quantum field mirrors not just your thoughts, but the emotional density behind them, and how that mirror creates the illusion of an unchangeable reality. You may think your reality is being shaped by what you want, by your goals, your affirmations, your vision boards, but the truth is far more intricate and far more revealing. What you call reality is not responding to your surface-level desires. It's responding to the emotional data you are unconsciously projecting into the field. This is the mirror. But unlike a glass mirror that reflects your physical image, the quantum mirror reflects your dominant energetic state, especially the unresolved emotional frequencies anchored in your past. You are not seeing life as it is. You are seeing life as your field instructs it to appear. Here's how it works. Every thought, emotion, belief, and memory carries a vibrational signature. These signatures are not isolated. They form patterns. Patterns become programs. Programs become your baseline broadcast into the grid. The quantum field doesn't judge this broadcast. It doesn't ask whether you want it or not. It simply reflects the encoded pattern. It offers a match. If your field holds the residue of rejection, abandonment, betrayal, or unworthiness, and it has not been recalibrated, you will find yourself consistently encountering circumstances that reaffirm those feelings. Not because life is cruel, not because you failed to be positive, but because your energetic history is scripting your interactions. This reflection is precise. It goes beyond words. It reads frequency, not intention. It mirrors coherence, not appearances. This is why you may consciously want intimacy, but consistently attract distance. Why you seek abundance, but experience scarcity. Because the quantum mirror is reading what's underneath your request. It is responding to the dominant frequency, often shaped long ago. Now here's where things become crucial. You can't outthink this mirror. You can't manipulate it with superficial positivity. Because this mirror doesn't reflect thought, it reflects being. It reflects the composite resonance of your field. And that field is largely built from the vibrational weight of unresolved memory anchors. Let's take this further. Most people assume manifestation is a forward-moving activity. You decide what you want, take action toward it, and bring it into being. But in truth, manifestation is an alignment process. It's not about chasing a goal. It's about tuning your field. It's about removing distortion so that your energy reflects clarity, and the mirror can finally respond with precision. So the real question isn't, why don't I have what I want? The real question is, what version of the past is still shaping what I expect? Because your expectations, conscious or not, are the templates the mirror responds to. They carry the weight of your past into the grid. And unless that weight is released, your future will feel suspiciously familiar. Here's how to recognize when you're manifesting from memory rather than potential. You consistently anticipate delay, sabotage, or disappointment. You plan for failure more than success, even subtly. You interpret new opportunities through the lens of past pain. You mistrust ease and associate difficulty with worth. You feel unexplainable dread when stepping into new territory. These are not feelings about the present. They are echoes of the past, still playing in the mirror. To shift this, you must do what very few are willing to do. You must become radically honest about your default emotional settings. Not your thoughts, not your affirmations, but your baseline emotional signature, the state you return to when things are quiet. That state is your true set point, and the mirror is obeying it. Now, does this mean you're stuck with what you've inherited emotionally? Absolutely not. But it means that change doesn't begin with what you want. It begins with what you're willing to let go of. You must be willing to retire the emotional architecture built around your memory anchors, to stop reinforcing the same identity loops that the mirror keeps reflecting. Here's a method to begin recalibrating your field. Step 1. Identify the emotional state you feel most often, especially during challenges. Is it fear, resentment, hopelessness, guilt? Step 2. Trace it to the earliest memory you can connect it with, not to understand it, but to feel the vibration clearly. Step 3. Shift your focus from the story to the sensation. Sit with it. Witness it fully. Then release your identification with it. Step 4. Consciously create a new emotional state that contradicts the old code. Not through forced thoughts, but through embodied feeling. Use breath, stillness, music, or visualization. Whatever helps you feel the new state is real. That emotional state is your new instruction. That's what the mirror can begin to reflect. You're not creating your reality from scratch. You're selecting it by frequency. The quantum mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't punish. It doesn't reward. It reflects. And if what you're seeing isn't what you want, the place to look is not outside. It's within your emotional field, because that field is the script the mirror is reading. Next, we explore the encryption layer, the hidden mechanism by which unresolved emotions become locked codes that deny you access to alternate outcomes. You'll begin to see why certain doors stay closed no matter how hard you try to open them, because you've forgotten the key is vibrational. The grid responds to frequency. That much is clear. But frequency is not always fluid. In fact, much of what keeps your reality locked in repetitive cycles comes from what has become frozen in your field, trapped emotions embedded as encrypted instructions. These trapped emotions are not merely feelings you haven't dealt with. They're energetic structures, encoded blocks of information fused with identity, belief, and timeline memory. They don't just live in your psyche. They live in your cells, in your nervous system, in your energetic signature, and they operate like security protocols. They determine which timelines you have access to. They act as locks. Let's get specific. When an emotion is not fully felt, when it is denied, suppressed, avoided, or intellectualized, it doesn't disappear. It localizes. It forms a vibrational construct. That construct crystallizes in your field, storing not just the emotion, but the situation, the meaning you gave it, and the energetic reaction you had to it. Now that construct becomes encrypted, sealed, and it begins to instruct the field. This version of reality is all that's available. Even if something new tries to emerge, the encryption blocks it. This is why certain possibilities remain inaccessible, why some people feel invisible, why success can be right at the doorstep and still not manifest. Because the encryption hasn't been released. Because the trapped emotion is still running as a closed loop. Trapped emotions are not vague or abstract. They are precise and patterned. You can feel them in the body as tension, heaviness, chronic fatigue, or resistance. They show up as the lump in your throat when you try to speak your truth, the knot in your stomach when taking risks, the tightness in your chest when you're asked to receive. These are not just psychosomatic responses. They are the body's expression of encrypted memory signals. Each one carries a vibration. Each vibration determines what you can perceive and receive. So the work becomes about releasing, not ignoring, not avoiding, not numbing. Releasing. But release doesn't happen through thought. It happens through felt awareness, through allowance, through recognition without defense. Here's how to begin. Step 1. Identify recurring physical or emotional reactions that don't match the present situation. These are likely encrypted emotion packets. Step 2. Rather than trying to fix the sensation, sit with it. Breathe into it. Let it speak without words. You're not trying to interpret, you're trying to feel. Step 3. Ask inwardly, what is the message encoded in this sensation? You might hear a phrase. You might see a memory. You might feel nothing but emotion. All of it is data. Step 4. Acknowledge the emotion with total presence. Let it move through you. Cry, shake, breathe, allow. No judgment, no story, just sensation. This process begins to unlock the encryption. Once the emotional energy is moved, the vibrational code softens. Now the field can offer you new frequencies, new outcomes that were previously blocked. But you must be consistent, because the encryption often operates in layers. Each layer removed grants you more access, more fluidity, more dimensional flexibility. You'll start noticing changes in your perception. What once felt impossible will start to feel accessible. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your field began to broadcast openness instead of denial. Clarity instead of confusion, coherence instead of encryption. Your potential is not determined by your ambition. It's determined by your availability. and availability is determined by your emotional state. Release the trapped emotion and you release the lock. Release the lock and timelines begin to shift. Next, we explore the idea of phantom selves, identity fragments from alternate pasts you never fully integrated. These fragments continue to influence your decisions in subtle but powerful ways. By learning to identify and reconcile them, you reclaim authority over your timeline. There are versions of you that never made it into your present life. Not just ideas or goals you abandoned, but actual energetic fragments, strands of identity shaped by critical decisions you did or didn't make. These aren't just memories. They're living constructs, and they haven't stopped influencing you. Every major turning point in your life created a fork in your energetic field. The path you took became your dominant timeline. But the paths you didn't choose, those didn't vanish. They became dormant frequencies, phantom selves, alternate versions of your consciousness, still running parallel in the quantum grid. These phantom selves are not theoretical. They're functional echoes. They hold emotional charge, unresolved intention, and unintegrated energy. And because they were never fully acknowledged, they remain active, not in your conscious mind, but in your energetic substructure. Here's what this looks like in real terms. You once had the opportunity to pursue a creative path. You chose stability instead. You never fully let go of the creative impulse. You didn't grieve it. You didn't resolve it. You stored it. That version of you, the one who said yes to the artistic life, still exists in the quantum grid. But because it was abandoned without integration, it became a phantom. And now, every time you try to explore creativity again, you feel inexplicable guilt, or resistance, or fear of failure that doesn't quite match your current life. That's not coming from you. That's coming from the echo of who you didn't become. These fragments aren't malicious. They're not here to haunt you. They're here to be reconciled. They want recognition, because until they are acknowledged, they distort your identity field. They blur your sense of purpose. They confuse your desires. Phantom selves can pull you in multiple directions without your realizing it. You may set a goal, feel aligned for a few days, then collapse into doubt or loss of interest. That collapse isn't laziness. It's interference. It's another version of you still holding emotional influence over your decisions. Some of these phantom identities carry unresolved shame. Others carry dreams that never matured. Still others were created in trauma responses, survival modes you adopted to get through something difficult. You may no longer need that mode, but its presence is still encoded in your field. And it speaks. It speaks through avoidance, through hesitation, through sudden bursts of anger or sadness you can't explain, through impulses that sabotage your momentum, through relationships that mirror a version of you that no longer matches who you're trying to become. To clear this distortion, you must first realize that healing isn't only about the wounds that happened. It's also about the identities that fractured around those moments. It's about the versions of you who were never allowed to complete their journey. Begin here. Make a list of major decisions you didn't follow through on, especially the ones that felt emotionally significant at the time. Next to each one, write what version of you left behind. Not the story, the identity. Did you leave behind the dreamer, the risk-taker, the truth-teller, the artist, the explorer? That version still holds a frequency. It's either trapped or fragmented. Either way, it's active. Now, one at a time, close your eyes and call forward the energy of that version of you. Don't judge it. Don't apologize. Just see it. Feel it. Let it exist. Ask it what it needs. Then choose. Do you want to integrate it or release it? Integration means reclaiming the qualities of that self into your present identity. Release means letting go of the energetic influence entirely. Either option restores coherence to your field. Without this step, manifestation becomes fractured. You try to create from a self that is only partially whole. You chase goals while unseen fragments pull against them. You question your motivation when what's really at play is unresolved identity interference. Once these phantom selves are addressed, a deep stillness emerges. You begin to move without internal conflict. You stop second-guessing your desires. You no longer feel haunted by the weight of roads not taken. Instead, you feel clear, rooted, and ready to express from a unified field of being. Next, we will explore how that unified field still interacts with old energy signatures through external reflections. Specifically, we'll examine why the same emotional triggers keep showing up in the form of people, dynamics, and experiences until you recognize and interrupt the script. It's often said that life is a mirror, but few people understand just how literal that statement is. Reality doesn't just reflect your thoughts, it reflects your unhealed patterns. And one of the most common ways this shows up is through people. Have you ever noticed that no matter where you go or how much you grow, certain types of individuals keep appearing in your life? They wear different faces, they speak different words, but the energetic dynamic is the same. The way you feel around them is familiar, too familiar. This isn't coincidence, it's feedback. It's the field responding to unresolved memory anchors that still live within your emotional body. These people are not random. They are mirrors, coded with your own unfinished scripts. And they will continue to arrive until the vibration that summoned them no longer exists in your field. This isn't about blame. It's about recognition. You are not at fault for their behavior, but you are responsible for what their presence reflects within you. Because the only thing they can truly activate is what already lives inside your system. Here's how this cycle works. You experience a wound, perhaps betrayal, neglect, manipulation. That wound carries an emotional frequency. That frequency forms an imprint. The imprint becomes a beacon. From that moment forward, your field begins unconsciously seeking energetic matches. Not because it wants to suffer, but because it's looking for resolution. It pulls people into your life who carry the exact vibrational key to activate that unresolved energy. Not to hurt you, but to bring it to your awareness. And yet, most people don't use that opportunity for healing. They re-experience the wound. They reinforce the belief. They confirm the fear. And the pattern loops again. This is the reflective trap. But there's a way out. It begins with understanding your unique trigger map. Start by writing down the people in your life, past and present, who have consistently triggered you. Not because they're toxic or wrong, but because they mirror something persistent. Now identify the emotional pattern in those interactions. Is it rejection, insecurity, powerlessness, unworthiness? That's the script they're activating. Not because they created it, but because your field summoned a reflection to show you where you're still carrying it. Once you recognize the emotional pattern, pause the external story. Stop analyzing the other person. Instead, bring all attention inward. Feel where in your body that emotion lives. Let it speak, not in language but in sensation. This breaks the loop, because now you are responding to the energy, not the person. You are shifting the imprint, not rearranging the reflection. Then comes the most powerful part. You consciously withdraw your projection. You stop assigning blame. You stop waiting for apology or change. You simply choose to no longer resonate with that frequency. And when that happens, the field changes. Those types of people either shift completely, or they disappear, not because you controlled them, but because their function as mirrors is no longer required. Here's something that might surprise you. You've likely been that mirror for others, too. You've played a role in activating their unresolved patterns. Not because you're flawed, but because you're connected. Reality is a matrix of interwoven reflections. We all activate each other. And when you become conscious of that, you gain immense clarity. You stop reacting. You start witnessing. You learn how to respond without emotional entanglement. This is how mastery begins. When you no longer take the trigger personally. When you no longer identify with the emotion it evokes. When you use the presence of others not as proof of your pain, but as proof of your healing in progress. The universe repeats people until you no longer need the repetition. It sends the same energy in new disguises until you choose a new frequency. And when you do, you don't just change your relationships. You change your access point in the grid. You rise above the loop. Next, we will explore how to shift that frequency actively through a specific technique that dissolves encoded thought forms and removes their timeline anchor points from your field. You've uncovered the loops. You've traced the imprints. You've seen how people, timelines, and fragments of the self all stem from unresolved frequencies. Now comes the most vital task, clearing the energetic residue from your system. Not suppressing, not bypassing, neutralizing. Encoded thought forms are not thoughts in the traditional sense. They're complex vibrational constructs, bundles of belief, emotion, memory, and intent. These thought forms don't just sit in your awareness. They pulse, they broadcast, they carry electromagnetic weight that affects how your consciousness filters experience. When these thought forms are tied to unprocessed memories, they operate like energetic parasites, pulling you back into reactive states, attracting similar events, and maintaining timeline locks. As long as they remain in your field, your present will remain entangled with your past. The process of releasing them isn't mental. It's vibrational. You can't think your way out of a frequency. You have to meet it where it lives, within the field, within the emotion, within the holographic data your body carries. Let's walk through a method designed to neutralize these imprints. This is not visualization for escape. This presence for recalibration. It's not about shifting into bliss. It's about returning to neutrality, where the field becomes malleable again. Begin by choosing a persistent pattern you're aware of, something that has repeated in your life. Not just the event, focus on the emotion behind it. That emotion is the anchor. It's the fuel of the thought form. Now close your eyes. Bring your awareness into your body. Locate where that emotional charge lives in your system. Don't think about it. Feel for it. Is it tightness in the chest? A knot in the stomach? A burn in the throat? A vibration in your hands? Wherever it is, place your attention there. Not to fix it, not to change it, but to witness it. Now speak silently to that space. I am here. That's it. No judgment, no narrative, just presence. Your presence is the disruptor. It is the recalibration. Encoded thought forms survive in suppression. They unravel in presence. As you sit with this, memories may surface. Don't chase them. Don't analyze. Let them arise and dissolve. They're surfacing to be released, not relived. You may feel intensification of sensation. This is good. It means the energy is preparing to shift. Stay with it. Breathe. Once you feel a softening or even just a shift, move to the next phase. Speak this inwardly. I release the code that no longer serves me. I collapse the pattern that binds my field to this memory. I return this frequency to neutrality. It no longer defines my now. Say it as many times as needed. Let it vibrate through the system. Now imagine the area of sensation transforming. Not through force, but as if space is opening up within it. The tightness begins to dissolve. The color changes. The vibration lightens. You are not deleting memory. You are erasing the emotional command it once carried. You are discharging the energetic program. You are freeing your field. To complete the practice, anchor in a new frequency. Ask yourself, if this memory no longer lived in me, what would I feel in this space? Let that emotion arise. Peace, openness, empowerment, relief. Now breathe that in. Feel it fill the area where the thought form was. You're not covering up. You're recoding. The more you use this practice, the more thought forms will begin to unravel. You'll feel lighter, less reactive, more clear. You'll begin to notice silence where once there was noise, freedom where once there was repetition, possibility where once there was fear. This is not a one-time solution. This is a skill and energetic hygiene. Thought forms accumulate every time we experience life unconsciously. The more consciously you live, the less new ones take root. The more you release, the more coherent your field becomes. Remember, neutrality is power. is not emptiness. It's potential. From neutrality, you can choose freely without interference from past commands. Next, we shift focus from the past entirely. You'll discover how to use the energy of your future self, not as fantasy, but as a quantum directive, shifting the gravitational pull of your timeline by anchoring to a new vibrational identity. Let's keep moving. You've spent your life referencing the past. You've used it to define who you are, what you expect, and what you believe is possible. But there's a radical shift waiting to happen. A reversal in direction. Instead of designing life based on what you've been through, you begin designing life based on who you are becoming. This isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about removing it as your primary reference point. It's about choosing a new anchor in the quantum field, one based on coherence, alignment, and forward-carrying resonance. Your future self already exists, not as a goal but as a frequency, a unique signature made of the emotions, decisions, and awareness you have yet to experience, but can access now. Every timeline in the grid is accessible by resonance. If you can feel the vibration of a future version of yourself, you can begin shifting your current field to match it. And when you do, the field reorganizes. Reality bends. Not because of effort, because of coherence. To understand this, you need to stop thinking of time as linear. Your future doesn't exist ahead of you. It exists all around you, coded as vibrational coordinates in the grid. When you emit the same frequency as your future identity, the field collapses distance. It syncs timelines. It updates your now. But this requires clarity. You must know the feeling tone of your future self. Not the accomplishments, not the achievements, the state. What does your future self feel like? What emotions define them? What energy do they hold in stillness? Not when performing, when being. That emotional frequency is the access key. Here's the process to begin shifting your anchor. Step 1. Enter a calm state. Stillness. No distractions. Feel the weight of your current moment, then set it aside. Step 2. Ask within. Show me the highest available version of me that exists in joy, alignment, and clarity. Then wait. You may feel an energy. You may see a version of yourself. You may sense a color, a sound, or a posture. Whatever arises, allow it. Step 3. Feel into that self. What is their baseline emotion? Confidence? Peace? Trust? Love? Now breathe it in. Let it expand. Step 4. Begin to move your awareness into that state. Not through imagination, through embodiment. Say silently, I am this now. Let the words calibrate your system. Let your nervous system update. Let your emotional tone align. Step 5. Ask inwardly, what decisions does this version of me make? What boundaries do they hold? What relationships do they release or deepen? What behaviors feel natural to them? Let the answers arrive. These are not suggestions. These are timeline instructions. Now return to your now moment and bring with you the emotion. Don't carry the image, carry the resonance. From this state, take action, even a small one, not to chase the future but to align with it. Each action taken from future resonance grounds that timeline into the grid. It sends a clear signal. This version of me is my baseline now, and the field responds. You'll begin to notice shifts in perception. Things that once felt overwhelming will feel neutral. Ideas you once ignored will start flowing with clarity. People, opportunities, and synchronicities will show up, not because you hunted them down, but because they match the frequency you now carry. This is quantum causality. It's not about force. It's about alignment. There will be temptations to return to old frequency. Old anchors will call you back. This is normal, but it's not required. You can observe the pull without reacting to it. You can choose again. Each time you do, the new timeline gains density. It becomes more real, more stable, more present. You are not waiting for your future. You are generating it, moment by moment, choice by choice, frequency by frequency. Let this be your mantra. I remember who I am by embodying who I am becoming. Next, we turn to the body itself. You'll discover how your physical system holds compressed memory, and how symptoms, sensations, and chronic states may be revealing exactly where time is trapped. Your body is not just flesh and biology. It's a living holographic map, an active canvas on which every emotion, memory, and timeline imprint is layered, not metaphorically, but vibrationally. This map carries time, not the time of clocks, but the time of unresolved experience. Moments that have not been integrated do not vanish. They embed. They take up space in tissues, muscles, organs, and energetic meridians. They store themselves in the form of sensation, tightness, heaviness, constriction. These aren't random discomforts. They are encrypted reminders. They are spatial records of unprocessed events. When you experience trauma, shock, or prolonged stress, the body doesn't just recover physically. It adapts energetically. If the emotional charge from those experiences is not released, the body crystallizes it, trapping it in the nervous system, fascia, and cellular memory. What feels like just tension is often the body replaying an old emotional moment. A moment you might not consciously remember, but your cells do. This is how the body holds time. You may find yourself reacting to touch, sound, movement, or tone with disproportionate intensity. That's not oversensitivity. That's encoded memory being stirred. Each part of your body resonates with specific emotional themes. This isn't superstition. It's pattern recognition backed by energetic correspondence. The chest often holds grief, unexpressed love, and betrayal. The throat holds silence, suppressed truth, and withheld identity. The stomach stores anxiety, guilt, and powerlessness. The hips carry fear, trauma, and survival instability. The spine reflects burdens, past obligations, generational patterns, and ancestral memory. These aren't poetic associations. They are functional locations. Each tension pattern is a signal. Each recurring sensation is a doorway to compress time. So the question becomes, what parts of your body are consistently speaking? Where is there recurring tightness? Where does movement feel limited or painful? Where do you feel empty, cold, or numb? These are not just physiological markers. They are memory portals, and they can be read like a map. Here's how to begin navigating that map. Step 1. Scan your body gently without judgment. Start from the crown and slowly move downward. Let your awareness move like light, touching, feeling, noticing. Where do you stop naturally? Where is there heat, pressure, discomfort? That's your first marker. Step 2. Sit with that area. Bring breath into it, not to push or stretch it away, but to listen. Ask inwardly, what moment lives here? What is this part of me holding on to? Then wait. You may receive an image. You may feel an emotion swell. You may recall an event you thought was forgotten. Don't analyze it. Feel it. Honor it. Let it express itself through sensation. Step 3. Once you've felt the stored emotion, begin to speak to it. Speak like you would to a child who has been waiting a long time to be seen. Say, "You don't need to hold this anymore. I release the timeline connected to this tension. I allow this memory to dissolve into clarity." Let the words carry vibration. Let the breath follow them. Let the tissue relax, organically, not by force. Sometimes the sensation will intensify before it softens. This is part of the release. The memory is discharging. Stay present. When the softening begins, breathe in deeply. Visualize golden light moving through that space. Let it cleanse and recalibrate. This is not an intellectual process. It's a frequency update. Each time you do this, your body begins to shift from being a storage vault to becoming a transmission center. You stop carrying your past. You begin channeling your now. The goal is not to be pain-free. The goal is to be present, to be aware of what the body is signaling and respond to it with energetic maturity. Your body doesn't need fixing. It needs witnessing. Once witnessed, it heals through realignment. You are not meant to store time. You are meant to flow through it. But most people hold years, even decades, of compressed experience inside their system, waiting to be acknowledged. That weight becomes identity. That identity becomes limitation. It doesn't need to. You have the capacity to free your emotional body, to unwind the old codes, to rewrite the sensations, to feel vitality where you once felt burden. Next, we explore the most potent rewrite of all, modifying the encoded meaning of the past by accessing your field through conscious revision. You'll learn how to update the narrative not through storytelling, but through vibrational authority. You've been taught that the past is fixed, that what's done is done, that memory is a recording, and the only way forward is acceptance or resistance. But that model is outdated. In the quantum framework, the past is not static. It's malleable, because memory doesn't exist in the past. It exists in the present moment within your energetic field. And anything in the present field can be recoded. Your memories are not recordings of truth. They are interpretations. Interpretations fused with emotional charge. And that charge becomes the instruction set, the script your field continues to run. If you want a new reality, you need a new script. And to get that, you must revisit your past. Not to relive it, but to revise it. Revision isn't lying to yourself. It's releasing the emotional distortion that attached itself to the original experience. It's choosing a new energetic imprint for the moment that has been defining you. Here's how you do it. Step 1. Choose a memory that still stings. One that continues to define how you see yourself, others, or life. Not because you want revenge or escape, but because you're ready to see it differently. Step 2. Close your eyes and bring that moment to mind. Feel the charge. Let the old script activate. You are not trying to resist the story. You're preparing to override it. Step 3. Now shift your inner camera. Zoom out. See the scene from a higher vantage point. Let yourself become aware of all the unconscious motivations, all the pain, confusion, misunderstanding, and fear that was present. Not just in you, but in everyone involved. Recognize that each person was acting from their programming. See the energy, not just the behavior. Now pause that moment in time. Literally freeze the visual. Then speak these words inwardly. This moment no longer defines me. I release the emotional authority it once held. I now assign a new code. From here, create an updated version of the event. Not one where everything goes perfectly. Not fantasy, but one in which you stood in your power. One in which you were seen, heard, understood, or chose not to care. One in which your inner self did not collapse. Reconstruct the interaction with clarity and energetic authority. Let that version play in your inner field. Feel the emotion it evokes. Anchor into it. This is your new script. Once this emotional state is locked in, breathe deeply. Visualize the old scene dissolving behind you, like dust. Visualize the new scene solidifying, becoming the updated imprint in your grid. Repeat inwardly, this is the version I carry now. This is the field I transmit. Over the next few days, your mind may try to bring back the old memory. It will feel like habit. When it arises, don't fight it. Just redirect. Say, I've rewritten this. That moment no longer holds weight. You're not erasing history. You're correcting distortion. You're removing the charge so the story no longer shapes your current resonance. Now, why does this work? Because in the quantum field, time is accessed through emotion. If the emotional state associated with a memory is neutralized or changed, the energetic pathway that loops that timeline collapses. The field no longer receives that instruction. It begins to offer new reflections. The loop ends. This method is not limited to trauma. You can use it to revise, regret, missed opportunities, self-sabotage, words you wish you'd said, choices you feel ashamed of. You can rewrite these moments with a new internal response. The outer event may remain, but its energetic weight disappears. This is not denial. This is mastery. This is choosing to carry only what expands you, not what shrinks you. Each time you revise, you reclaim. You reclaim emotional sovereignty. You reclaim timeline authority. You reclaim vibrational momentum. The version of you that's capable of rewriting the past is the version of you that's ready to design the future without obstruction. And that brings us to the final frontier. Next, we step into total freedom. You'll see what it means to live untethered not from fantasy, but from the real experience of now-based living, where identity is fluid and manifestation is immediate. There's a point where the loops stop, where the mirrors fade, where the echoes go quiet, where the version of you built from memory, programming, and past emotion dissolves into something far more powerful: presence. This isn't a concept, it's a frequency, and it's available to you now, not in some future version of yourself, not when all healing is done, not after every belief is rewritten. Now, but first, you must release the idea that you are a fixed identity moving through a linear timeline. Because you're not. You are an ever-updating stream of consciousness, capable of real-time recalibration, spontaneous alignment, and non-linear expansion. What's been holding you back is not failure, not karma, not fate. What's been holding you is gridlock. Gridlock happens when memory anchors are so entangled with your current field that your now becomes congested, thick with unfinished stories, unresolved emotions, and recycled scripts. You may be moving, but it feels like dragging. You may be aware, but it feels heavy. You may be growing, but not expanding. That's not a lack of effort. That's signal interference. The signal of your now is being distorted by background noise, residual vibrational patterns that keep replaying timelines you no longer want to live. Freedom from gridlock begins with this understanding. Your now is not meant to be a recycling center. It's meant to be a launch pad. It's meant to be fluid, not freighted. You are not meant to carry your past into every moment. You are meant to experience each moment as new, not just intellectually, but vibrationally. To live untethered is not to forget your past. It is to unhook from it. It is to let go of the belief that what happened still has something to say about who you are. Untethering begins with choice. The choice to step out of interpretation and into awareness. The choice to stop asking, "Why did that happen to me?" and to start asking, "What is alive in me now?" Because only what is alive now can shape your field. Only what is coherent now can update your grid. Only what is neutral now can carry you into expansion. Living untethered does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop attaching. It means you let sensations arise and dissolve without turning them into identity. You feel sadness, but you are not sad. You feel anger, but you are not angry. You feel doubt, but you are not lost. This is what it means to stand in presence. Not above emotion, but beyond identification. So how do you enter the now stream? You begin by recognizing when you are out of it. Anytime you find yourself explaining, justifying, or defending your emotional state, you've left the now. You're referencing a memory. You're replaying a program. You're strengthening a tether. When you feel the need to narrate your pain, pause. Not to avoid it, to observe it, to witness without merging. That pause is the gate. It's the opening through which presence can re-enter. Now bring your attention to sensation, not emotion. Sensation. What do you feel? Where do you feel it? Don't describe it. Feel it. Let it move. Let it shift. Let it breathe. You are no longer interpreting. You are no longer explaining. You are simply being. This is the now stream. From here, something extraordinary happens. Your energy field starts to clear. The debris of memory begins to lose coherence. The noise subsides. The grid becomes responsive. Not to your story, to your signal. That signal is pure. That signal is enough. That signal does not carry scripts, it carries codes. Codes for new timelines, new reflections, new possibilities. In this stream, manifestation is not effortful. It's magnetic. You no longer chase. You align. You no longer push. You receive. You no longer analyze. You sense. Because you are no longer living from delay. You are living from now. This state can become your baseline, not through force, through remembrance. The more often you pause, recenter, and release, the more your system reprograms itself to prefer presence over pattern. Each moment of stillness becomes a calibration point. Each breath of awareness becomes a signal booster. Each conscious choice becomes a vote for freedom. Now, let's bring this together. You've uncovered how memory anchors form, how they act as timeline locks, how they code your emotional body, how they generate holographic patterns, how they interfere with the mirror, how they encrypt access to future timelines, how phantom selves pull against your alignment, how repetitive people show up to trigger unresolved layers, how encoded thought forms sustain these loops, how future state identity shifts your gravitational field, how your body stores compressed time, how conscious revision rewrites vibrational blueprints. And now, in this final phase, you let go of needing any of that to be your reference anymore. You're not defined by the tools. You're not confined to the healing. You are free now, because freedom is not the absence of pain. It's the absence of attachment to pain. It's the power to feel without fusing, to sense without storing, to choose without referencing history. This is now-based living. When you live in the now stream, the mind slows down, the body lightens, the emotions clarify, the field opens. You begin to sense the intelligence of the moment itself, how it communicates without thought, how it guides without logic, how it offers without demand. You begin to meet life, not control it. You begin to express truth, not perform survival. You begin to create, not compensate. Everything becomes simpler, not easier, but simpler, because your energy is clean. You no longer need validation. You no longer need proof. You no longer need loops to teach you what you already know. You know you're enough. You know you're whole. You know you're ready. If challenges appear, you meet them from presence, not from trauma, not from echo, not from history. You meet them from your now, and from now, you choose again, and again, and again. Each choice becomes an activation. Each breath becomes a rewrite. Each moment becomes a new grid point, unlocked, available, open. So here's the final invitation. Let go of seeking. Let go of fixing. Let go of correcting. You are not a project. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are consciousness remembering itself. You are resonance realigning with source. You are the field, teaching itself how to move again. Stay in presence. Feel what's here. Act from clarity. Speak from stillness. Hold your frequency, and let the quantum respond not to your past but to your now. You are free. You are untethered. You are home. Let this be your new anchor. Nothing from before defines what comes next. Only your frequency now does, and your frequency is infinite.